Hi, we're in Seattle, Seward Park, one of the best parks in the city.
We're actually at our local park and we're at the Audubon. So there is an event today sponsored by Canon and we're going to go on a little bird watching tour.
So we're not bringing the big cameras with the big lenses. Canon is providing all that, and we're going to see what they've come up with lately. USR. I'll shoot with that one.
Okay.
So this is the RP.
This is the RP.
So yeah, I want to have some interesting time working out this Canon. I have not shot with Canons in over 10 years. So let's see how this goes.
The crows are more maneuverable, so the eagle has to try to get them when they're perched somewhere, and it can drop on them from above and kind of do a sneak attack. The head seems to be different colors. Depending on the angle of the sunlight hitting the head of the duck, and depending on where your eye is seeing that refracted light, you might get medium length wavelengths of light, which are greenish. You might get shorter wavelengths of light, which are blue, and then violet are the shortest. If they're not actually changing color, you're just seeing different wavelengths of light that are reflected.
What's about your camera?
So we switched around a little bit, but I had the Canon EOS R with the 70 to 300 millimeter lens. So far really loving the camera, but it is a little hard to tell without a high quality lens on it, but so far the camera's been really good.
What do you like about it?
I like that it's a Canon, because I honestly miss Canon in a lot of ways. I think that's a little frustrating is this touch bar, which I know about, and you really have to have the time to customize the touch bar, and I haven't had the time to do that. So I'm having to learn on the fly. But that, to me, is kind of the nice thing about Canons, is that as long as you know more or less how to use a camera, you can kind of pick up how to use it and just start shooting with it.
First branch.
Oh, it's a pro.
I'm way up high.
Although this whole trip is, the whole point of it is to learn about birds more so than cameras, but we are trying to test out some of Canon's new mirrorless options.
Right by the parking lot here, so you know, if you live here in Seattle, you have a few minutes, you can just drive up. Don't even have to get out of your car, park and look up and see what the progress is of these eagles. There's a nice profile. Doing a little preening. Working an oil gland they have by their armpit. They rub oil on the beak and then move it on the feathers to keep the barbules of the feathers even and smooth.
How do you feel about your USRP?
If I have to be totally honest, I would be happy if I never shoot a Canon again. I find the bodies very cheaply made. I find the controls extremely clunky and hard to use. Everything is kind of rattling around.
Back to the point. There's a hawk.
That is a Barbary falcon, which is named to the Barbary coast in Africa. She's about 14, 15 years old. Then next to her is another Boodio, actually. This is a red-tailed hawk, basically, of Africa. It is called an auger buzzard. Basically a cousin of our red-tailed hawk. And he's the only hawk in Africa that has a red tail. And you'll notice I say buzzard. Anywhere else in the world, they use the term buzzard. They don't, we reversed it here in the United States. We really should say red-tailed buzzard. So if you go to Europe, Asia, Africa, they're gonna use the term buzzard for hawk. So what the hood does, it naturally makes him think that it's nighttime. And so his instinct is to calm down because he's such a visual creature that that hood basically blocks everything out. And it's not a big deal. We've had him since about, 15 days old. So he's trained to put it on. And so what it really boils down to is that falconry is based on two things: positive reinforcement and weight management. So everything has to be as positive as possible. So let's say a dog came running through or a child came running through. I would be like, nope, we're not gonna see that. And then it lets you guys get an up-close look. So if you guys want to look at some really cool adaptations, falcons have some stuff that help them fly really fast, but also how they finish their prey off. Because most raptors squeeze their prey to death. So if you guys want to look at something really cool, you guys can look at a toenail tooth. Have you guys ever seen a toenail tooth before? So look at that beak. Do you notice a little notch on the side? It's called a toenail tooth, or nicknamed a killing tooth, and so that's an adaptation that's only found in falcons.
All right, so we just gave the Canon mirrorless cameras a spin. Here I have the EOS RP, which is the lesser, I think, size and everything. All my impressions are overall, I don't like it at all. Normally people see good things about gear and they try to at least, but there's very little good I can find. The image quality does seem good actually, but the whole experience is so frustrating with the controls are so subpar to what I'm used to. So I guess it's a really good lesson of how much Fuji has spoiled me. Like everything about a Fuji is like delighting to use. The shutter, the controls, everything, the body. In this case, is the complete opposite. I find everything so frustrating. Basic things are so hard to do, like finding how to change the aperture, the ISO. The buttons on the left hand, so you cannot use this camera one-handed. The biggest usability problem with the Canon was that there's no joystick, and moving the focus point was nearly impossible. And just many control problems. To me, now I remember why I never wanted to shoot Canon too much. I tried it 10 years ago and I moved to Nikon very quickly because I can't stand the controls.
Alright, so we just got done shooting with the Canon mirrorless cameras. Martin had the EOS RP and I had the EOS R. The EOS R, I mean, they're both full frame cameras, but this is the higher resolution, the one that people have really been raving about the most. And so far, I've been using a lot of different cameras, so I guess I have a more balanced approach in that you really need time to get to know a camera, and we had like 5 minutes to try to get to know where all these controls were, and then we were trying to pay attention to the birding lesson and also use the camera, so it was a little bit hard, and I feel like I would need at least an hour, I'd say, maybe even more than that, to really set the controls to where I need it to be. And I think that's one thing about this EOS R. They added like this little touch bar up here, which is really similar to what they did with the MacBooks, and you have to customize this to be whatever it is you want it to be, and obviously we didn't have time to do that. So with that said, it was a little frustrating getting to figure out where everything was, especially in comparison to the 5D Mark III, which I know just, I can use it blindfolded. And this one was like, I don't know where my buttons are, I don't know how to find my focus, change my ISO. So that took a little bit, that was a big learning curve. But I'd say beyond that, I do like the feel of the camera. I did get to play with this a little bit at Sundance. And it feels really good in your hands. Shooting with it, again, is a little frustrating because I feel like you need the time to customize where all your settings are. But it's a pretty good camera. I'd say it's a good size. A little hard to tell, again, with a subpar lens. This is the 70-300 lens. It's all right, I'd say, for nature and for birding. That was a really good use for it, but it was slow, it was clunky. I could hear the motors kind of turning every time I tried to focus, so that was a little frustrating. But with that said, I think we got some really good image quality, and I tried to get some video as well. And I was using the X-T3 as well to try to give us some comparison points. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that footage and those photos and let us know what you think.
The mirrorless, the R.
Yeah.
I agree with you completely. It was so.
Which one are you using?
Well, this is mine. No, I used it yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And the controls, where's the aperture, where's the shutter, and they gave me an adapter ring for the lens I was using, and you can set it to be one or the other, but I couldn't remember which one was which. So I heard you reviewing it.
Yeah.
There's too much customization, you know, and I get where they're going with that, but that means that you need a lot of time to customize
I
it.
couldn't.
You know?
Yeah, I
And then
didn't
you have
want.
to remember
I
what you
never
did.
shoot on auto. It just no.
Yeah,
Because
same.
it isn't going to be because I'm spot focusing on a bird or, but and I was like, oh. Okay.
It's like, oh, it's gone. Oh,
It was
shoot.
hard. Yeah, it was hard.
So I was struggling exactly, and I think a learning curve.
Yes.
It might be better if you had time to learn it before you went and tried to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the pictures came out great.
Yes,
Yeah.
the image quality is very high. Yeah.
The experience was like,
You know, I wanted to put it in my bag, get my own camera out, and but I kept telling myself the reason I was doing it was to try different equipment.
That's why Susie has the Fujifilm here in the back. So
I
that
got mine too, and after a while I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna use that. 'Cause I got
This is the Tamron 150 to 600.
How do you like it?
I love it. It has its limitations again, because I use it for birds, and then the distortion around the edge of your image on the side. So if you're going to crop it, you're great. It's just, for me, it's very obvious when I'm shooting at the sky, and I put on the computer and you can see the curve a little, not bad, but it like you wouldn't use it for scenery. But for eagles and stuff,
Okay.
okay. This is this morning up at the birders.
hello.
This is straight out of camera because I just transferred
With your
it over.
DSLR or just now?
With this.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, well, I use this when I borrow. Hi. Camera talk.
Oh yeah, always.
Oh, it's good.
But then I borrow the 600 zoom in there instead of my 600, and that's
Oh, it's good. But it's soft, but it's far.
well, he was but the
Yeah.
flight over and using that 600, the eagle sitting.
Oh wow, look at
But
that.
then I put my extender on it. I have a 2x extender, and that was the same bird.
Wow.
So
You're
that
getting
was like, that's a little better than my 600.
Well, that's
But-
a 2.8 in there, right? Because a 2.8
It's a
makes
4.
Oh, it's 4.
Still, yeah. It makes a
Yeah.
big difference.
Probably cost like $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
did you pay for?
But like this was yesterday
Oh, that's cool.
with this one. He flew up and landed in front of me, so I
Wow.
didn't have time to change settings. It was kind
Nice.
of a little dark.
Much thanks to Kenmore Camera and the Audubon Society in Seattle for letting us do this. We joined the group and they brought a lot of gear. Very generous here, and they're even letting us keep the memory card that we shot on, so we can review the footage at home. It's a very cool thing to have in your city. You know, they nourish these pastimes. It's a really good thing as a benefit to the community.